Good evening, all. Hope you're all well. And yeah, we're going to do a little bit with more of the Arsenal history. Haven't done one for a while, but before we get into that, just want to say very welcome to Isco and Anne if you've been new channel members. Just want to say very welcome to Isco and Anne if you've been new channel members. Got reverb here. Sorry about that. Had a reverb on the other channel, but yeah, guys. Before we get into that, I really want to try and set up a members channel stream, and if you guys are interested in coming on and having a chat, then that would be awesome. You can contact me here or on collins.jez on Insta, and we can set that up because that's the whole point, having you guys as members, so I can get in, have a chat with you, like, you know, and we can talk all things Arsenal, all things football, whatever. So I'd really like to try and do that at some point. I've mentioned it a few times. I know I can get DVS from America on. He's a top fella, and any of you guys want to come on, have you say anything Arsenal, whether you agree with what's going on, whether you don't agree, what's your view on the team, what's your view on the manager, how things are going to move forward, then that's what we're here to do. So we've got a lot of people joining the chat. Carl Rossi, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. Taib, top fella. Alex, nice to see you, mate. Paul Bryden, evening to you, my friend. Diego, top man, top fella, always here, always in the chat. Cyborg Ninja, mate, if you want to come and do I just mentioned about doing a member stream. I really want to get into it. Lee used to do them, and they were always great fun, and we used to have some really great debates amongst people. I didn't know them, and it was always good fun. So yeah, I want to do it. Craig, how are you, mate? Hope you're doing well. And here we have an absolute legend in the house, Spursy Mikel Arteta. Yeah, mate. Large up Don Jez. Cheers, man. Top fella. And the lovely Joe. Hello, Jez, and hi to you, Joe. Hope you're doing very well. And it's boring. We have no Premier League football. What's going down? I'm not into this international crap. Doesn't float the boat for me. Didn't see the game last night, but I hear we were absolute pony. So, Mike England, good evening, Jez in the chat. Nice to see you, Mike. Great to see you, my friend. And yeah, we're going to get into it in a minute. Dave, nice to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing very, very well. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about Shiraz. Great name, Shiraz, like that. Good morning, Thomas Park Tartan, getting ready for another vacation. He's 35 years old. Yeah, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, it's a scary one. Shiley Berthelezi, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but always great to have Man U in the chat. Big up everyone. Good to have you, man. Yeah, I watched that, Joe. That was a great game. Loved it. And well done for the Arsenal ladies. North London derby, 53,000 or something at the Emirates today. Fair play to them. Michael, hope you're well. Just I'm very well, my friend. I hope you are. Hope your family's well. And Craig Jez, what manager you have to replace Gareth Southgate? I'll be honest with you, Craig. I'm not really interested in international football. It doesn't float my boat. Never has. I find it boring. So yeah, I'm not really interested in it. But to answer your question, who would I put in there? Don't know. Thomas Tuchel? I don't know. No idea. It's not my thing, man. It really isn't. But we're going to get into this. So the last history one we did was about the corruption of how Arsenal got re-elected into Division 1 after the First World War. A lot of talk, never proven, that there was some underground and dodgy dealings going on by two certain gentlemen at Arsenal Football Club. So we enter the 26-27 season. In between the end of the First World War and this period in time, not a lot's happened at Arsenal before. They've coasted along, done all right, nothing great. But a certain gentleman known as Herbert Chapman, one of the most iconic managers of Arsenal Football Club in history, had joined the club. And this is the first season that Herbert Chapman had got Arsenal to an FA Cup final, which sadly they lost to Cardiff City 1-0. But Herbert Chapman joined the season before from Huddersfield Town, where he'd won 2 back-to-back Division 1 trophies. So that must have taken a lot of persuasion to get him to come to Arsenal. Now, Chapman joined because of the influence of Sir Henry Norris. Now, Sir Henry Norris, we know, had been involved, along with William Hall, getting Arsenal back to Division 1 after World War One, at the expense of Tottenham Hotspur, who had finished bottom. So if you haven't watched that show, guys, go and refresh yourselves on it. And what's going to happen here, you'll see all falls into place of what went down. So Sir Henry Norris has convinced the best manager in Division 1 at the time to join Arsenal. But it soon becomes apparent that the iron grip that Sir Henry Norris had at Arsenal was starting to aggravate Herbert Chapman. Herbert Chapman wanted free range. He joined Arsenal to show his ability as a manager and run the club with his philosophy, which we talked about back in time, the classic WM formation. Herbert Chapman believed that the defence shouldn't just stay beyond, or should not. His belief was the defence should not stay just as a defence. He believed they should transgress forward to support the midfield. And basically, that was the foundation of modern football, and it's still used today. So he was a very, very iconic man in developing football. And that was become proven with the iconic 30s teams of Arsenal, who were basically unstoppable in what they achieved and what they won. So Sir Henry Norris had brought him in, but the end of the Norris and Hall era was about to come to an end, after possibly the most corrupt way, where we will see what happened. So we know how Arsenal got back into Division 1 after World War One, with a shady voting setup where William Hall was involved in the iconic sports paper at the time, The Athletic. He was a director of that newspaper. So Norris and Chapman were already having issues at the start of this new season. Chapman's only been here one season, and already things aren't going well. So Herbert Chapman, had already demoted the trainer, George Hardy, as the chief trainer after he overstepped his jurisdiction during an FA Cup game. So Chapman had wanted to add a more proactive trainer for some time, and this was the perfect time for Chapman to appoint a certain gentleman called Tom Whitaker. Now, Tom Whitaker became head of training. He had major experience, having worked with the England national team, and had an absolutely different philosophy on how to get players' fitness up to higher levels. And back in this time, this guy was looking at players' diets. I mean, this is back then. And this guy is saying, well, you need to change your diet, you need to do this, etc., etc. Something that Arsene Wenger brought in when he joined Arsenal back in the 90s. Because he banned alcohol from the players' lounge. He instructed dietitians to the club, and it's a bit like, deja vu, isn't it? This guy, Tom Whitaker, has come in and said, right, we're going to change the philosophy of how you guys eat and how you train. So major progress was going to happen. Now, other signs of major problems were when a certain gentleman, William Hall, a long-term director, alongside Sir Henry Norris, resigned from the board in March 1927, just as Arsenal are progressing in the FA Cup, after being made aware that Sir Henry Norris had forged Herbert Chapman's signature on a cheque that was used to sell the reserve team bus. Interesting. So William Hall said he would resign to prevent a full-on inquiry by the FA into Arsenal's financial dealings, possible shady dealings. Sir Henry Norris refused, and that has got to be one of the biggest mistakes in football history. He knew that if he refused that resignation, the FA and the governing body would put in a full-blown inquiry into Arsenal Football Club. What was the man thinking? Seriously? I mean, come on. We've they knew for season upon season upon season, and it will come to light in a little bit, their shady dealings. And all of a sudden, he's refused William Hall's resignation, knowing the FA are going to come in, all guns blazing, big boots, stamping over everyone. So it happens. So Henry Norris refused that. So eventually a full-blown investigation by the FA was made into Arsenal's dealings. Now, this season on the field, Arsenal have played 42 games. They've won 17, drawn 9, lost 16. Goals for 77, goals against 86. Points 43. They end up in 11th place. So basically mid-table. Not a great season. But they were still in Division 1. But the only highlight was they got basically into the FA Cup final for the first time up against Cardiff City, and unfortunately lost 1-0. So that was really the only highlight of that season for Arsenal Football Club, because everything now is a dark shadow. The FA are investigating. It's not a great time now for these two characters. Time is closing. And all along this time, the FA are still looking very, very hard at what was happening at Arsenal. So the season ends and Arsenal are still being investigated. So we're getting to the chat a little bit more. And guys saying, chatting amongst yourselves, that's great to see. Nice one. And we've got good run 3R420. Big up. Nice to see you, mate. Haven't seen you for a while. Nice to see you. Why not Spursy, Mikel Arteta, love Arsenal, hate Kroenke, big up, great time, Diego to see Palace. All the real ones inside the chat, always real ones. Why not big up? Nice to see all you guys having a good chat. Anthony Smith, hi Jez, I'm a Liverpool fan. Big up to you, my friend. But love watching you on here. I hope you're keeping well, mate. Yeah, all good. Hope you are. Hope your family's well. And you'll never walk alone. No, never. At Liverpool Football Club. Always. Dan Hafner, hello, all happy weekend, guys and dolls. Yep. All good. Diego C. Palace evening at Why Not Spursy. So, have a quick sweep. So, the 27-28 season starts. And this is where it all goes wrong. So, the season starts under a black crowd, really, at Arsenal. The FA have found that Sir Henry Norris has been bending the rules over a number of issues. In the main part, major transgressions were found with regard to overpayments to players, variously described as Sir Henry Norris to be signing on fees, which signing on fees were pretty much unknown at this period in time in football. Also, loans have been made to players and supposed legal costs. So, a few that were highlighted in this report. There was quite a few. I'm not going to go through all of them because it'd be boring. But a few of the highlighted ones was for a signing of Clem Voisey in 1919. So that sees how far back we're going here. This is just after World War One. Yeah. So we know what happened with Arsenal getting back in Division 1, what happened there, the controversy and supposed dodgy dealings. A Burt White in 1923 and a Jock Rutherford in 1925. These three are notable to mention because these are the highest costs that were highlighted in the FA report. All players that received unauthorised signings, sign-on fees and legal costs, and these were big money back then. Burt White in 1923 received an undisclosed signing-on fee of £1,500. £1,500 back then was a shed load of money. A shed load of money. So something was not quite right. The report also showed that Sir Henry Norris, who treated the club's finances as his own. Now, bear in mind, he is the chairman. He doesn't own the club, but he is chairman. Who treated the club's finances as his own, did not know where Arsenal's finances and his own ended. there were numerous transactions between his own personal finances and the club. It was such a complicated, protracted combination of things that were going on. The report also showed that Norris was feeding money to other people around the club. The accusations were coming from the FA, the Inland Revenue. This was an avoidance of taxes on the club's revenue. So this is quite serious stuff now. Because back at this time in history, you could still go to prison for avoiding to pay tax. So Arsenal are now seriously under the cosh with what's going down, and this you know, it's causing a lot of pressures on the club and around the club and what's happening. It can't have been good an atmosphere around the club at this point in time. Seriously. So we'll move into it, maybe just do a few more comments. Paul Summerfield, even Jez and chat. Nice to see my friend. Good evening, Paul. Jez, what ride are you drinking tonight? That is a very nice little Shiraz, mate, from not sure actually. Southeast Australia. Pretty nice. Ian Gould, evening Sir Jez. Evening to you, my friend Ian. Hope you're doing very, very well. So Henry Norris looks like a crook. I think you'll make your mind up very shortly on this one when we come to it. Evening, Paul. And whoever leaked the news of the cheque and the signature opened a can of worms. I expect all football clubs are doing all sorts of deals without the TV revenue clubs nowadays receive. Yeah, mate, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it still goes on somehow. You know, accountants are very, very clever people, but just saying it, just putting it out there. So Arsenal now, big investigation, seriously in big trouble. And these players that receive, I've only named 3 because there's just too much to go through and it would be just boring. But we're talking about 30 odd players. That's just to summarise that. Now, the nail in the coffin for Sir Henry Norris was the key fact was the notorious cheque for the sale of the Arsenal reserve team bus that did not end up in Arsenal's accounts. And that Arsenal FC was paying for Sir Henry Norris and William Hall's personal chauffeurs since 1920. So just after World War One, Arsenal have been promoted back to Division 1, and with money very short around clubs, with fans, etc., they appoint 2 personal chauffeurs that the club are paying for. Interesting. So the decision was made to ban Sir Henry Norris from any football activities for life. He had to resign as chairman, director of the club, and that's him done. It had opened up his misjudgment of not allowing William Hall to resign, had basically brought in the FA, the Inland Revenue at the time, to investigate the club which they'd spent nearly a year doing, showed his stupidity. He basically, this guy was a multi-millionaire. He owned numerous businesses, furniture shops. I think he thought he was above it. He was above it. Nobody can touch me. I've got millions. Nobody can touch me. Bit like we see today in certain situations with certain footballers. They think they're above the law. They can do what they like. No, unfortunately, the law of the land stands. And if you break the law, you'll get caught for it. So that is how it is, I'm afraid. And Shishul Sangar, even Jez, MUFC fan since '89. Good up to you, man. You're doing well, aren't you? But love hearing the history of the clubs, especially since most of my friends and family support you lot. Oh, mate, that's a bit of a shock. But fair play. Thanks for coming and watching. Thank you very much. James, good evening, fella. And James Dunlop, Everton fan, always good to see you, my friend. Your club deserves better, that's for sure. Noah says, big up, Jez. Is Norris the reason we left South London and made Spurs fans hate us? No, we'd already left there, man. We'd left Plumstead. We'd moved to Highbury in 1914. One of the reasons is that reputedly the fallout massive was with Spurs is the fact in 1919, when the Football League restarted after the World War One, Tottenham had finished bottom, but the FA decided to do a vote on who should go back into Division 1. All teams could apply, even Tottenham, Chelsea, who finished, I think, third bottom, could apply to stay in Division 1. What happened was that Arsenal, who were a growing club, had major influence, supposedly, through Sir Henry Norris, with his duties, how he got knighted for his duties in World War One, and William Hall's influence being a director of the biggest sports paper in the UK at the time, The Athletic. And The Athletic did a poll, or a vote poll, and it went to a vote, and Arsenal got elected back to Division 1, and Tottenham got relegated. So that is reputedly the story of the hatred. That's the story. I don't know how factual that is, but that's the story behind it, of how this all came about. Mike England, James, did you see the women's crowd? Yeah, it's massive, man. I watched the game. It's a great game. Loved it. Sheena says, thanks, Jez and chat. Sorry, have to go to work. We'll catch up later. Also, don't be too surprised if World Cup gets cancelled. Oh, really? Do you think so? Really? Oh, my word. That would be quite something. James said, I did see it, Mike. Brilliant atmosphere at the Emirates. Great to see how much the women's game has grown. Yeah, loving it. I think it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm glad to see the ladies playing at the Emirates. They should, quite rightly. Brilliant. Loving it, all of it. They're a great team. And awesome. James, some cracking goals. Yeah, there was. Big up James. Norris is a brick. I think he was a very big fall. He brought his downfall on himself. William Hall basically was going to take one for the team and resign, and I don't believe anything would have ever happened, but he didn't. He continued on, and I think this guy thought he's got so much money, nobody could touch him, and that he thinks that, well, yeah, okay, bring it on, maybe more bribery, more corruption, I'll get away with it again. Well, I think in this occasion, that was never going to happen. Because the FA, we'll see in a minute, when I finish this off, what happened to these guys. Seriously. He made a major problem for himself. There's been some improvements now, especially in the defence. It's just a lack of goals at the moment. Are we talking about England here? I guess we are. James W, you'll miss Calvert-Lewin, mate. Yes, all day. What a play Ray Kennedy was. Hey, Jez. Yeah, man. Mate, I saw that bloke play many times. Awesome player. Rock hard. I tell you, you wouldn't want to go up against him. Short and poof. He was a tough nut. Jamie says, hey, Jez, hope you're doing good, mate. Big Spurs fan, but appreciate your content. Jamie, always welcome, man. We have everybody. Every team in the world comes in here. There's no agendas. You come in here, you say what you want to say, and your opinion is respected as anybody else. The only people we don't respect is the little 15-year-old idiots that want to spout crap, and they get binned. But you're always welcome, my friend. You're always welcome. Noah says, James W, you should have beat Liverpool. The ref cheated you. I don't know. I didn't see the game, to be fair. I didn't see it, mate. Jez, what do you hate about Spurs? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That's a very good comment. I don't actually hate Spurs. I don't. They're our biggest rivals in North London. There's a rivalry. The team I hate the most is Man United, because we had major battles with them back in time with Sir Alex Ferguson, awesome manager, absolute respect for that man, and of course Arsene Wenger. But I don't hate Spurs. I don't hate them. I love it when we beat them, and I hate it when they beat us. Simple as. It's pure rivalry. It's pure rivalry. They're our what I always say, our noisy neighbour. They give it all of that, but never achieve anything. But fair play to them, fair play to us. Yeah, I mean, it is how it is. Yeah, I mean, hate's a big word, isn't it? It's a big word. To actually hate, don't know. I don't know. Maybe saying that about United is the wrong way to put it. United were annoying. Can I say it that way? They were very annoying in the 90s and the 2000s. Very annoying. Because they were that back then, they were our biggest rivals. And then of course Chelsea appeared. And so fair play. It is what it is. So we'll just get into this last little bit. So we talked about the fact they Sir Henry Norris and William Hall had their personal chauffeurs being paid for by Arsenal. The investigation also brought to light the possible underhand activities that got Arsenal re-elected to Division 1 after World War I. These findings could not be fully proved. Interesting, that, isn't it? Interesting. A year-long investigation into the club, and they couldn't make the findings of how Arsenal got re-elected, with the fact of the vote count in that election, the fact that William Hall was a director of the Athletic newspaper, and was using massive influence among fans, not just Arsenal fans. This was generic newspaper went all around England. It was all around. It's the biggest sports newspaper back in time. So, and he was a director of this football club and had massive influence in that newspaper. So it is what it is. There are certain claims that Henry Norris had upset people in football, and there was an agenda to oust him. Notably, complaints had been made by Tottenham and Chelsea. Interesting, the one about the Tottenham, because when they got booted out of Division 1 and Arsenal got elected, their person at the announcement, at the election vote, when it was actually announced, they said, "We will take our defeat as gentlemen." Right. But in fairness, there was a lot of other football clubs nationally also complaining about Arsenal's dealings, the fact they were trying to go behind the doors to buy players. Back then, it was you didn't have agents and all that sort of stuff, but it was more of a gentleman's thing. You know, you go knock on the door and say, "Excuse me, hello, I'm Fred Bloggs from Arsenal Football Club, and we're interested in buying your player from Blackburn Rovers." And they'd either welcome you in or they'd shut the door in your face. That's more how football was back then. So the fact that Arsenal were paying backdoor money, that's where I think it highlights maybe where things were going a little bit awry for certain people at this football club. So William Hall was also banned from football activities for life, as it was deemed that he had sanctioned the majority of the financial misdemeanors. He was the financial director at Arsenal Football Club, and so basically he was responsible for the ins and outs and accounts and all that went on, and his nail was in his coffin when that cheque also didn't turn up at the cheque for the sale of the Arsenal reserve team bus didn't turn up in the accounts, year-end accounts for Arsenal Football Club. Now, if Sir Henry Norris had accepted his resignation, do you think this would have actually happened? Because William Hall could have walked away. The FA may have said, "Oh, right, okay, we're not going to go deep into this." But the fact that Sir Henry Norris was arrogant to the point he said, "No, I'm not taking your resignation, and you're going to stay," brought a whole ton of crap on Arsenal Football Club, which they had to live with for quite a few years after this. And I don't know. And let's be honest, this was the first, but it's not the last time there was controversy with misdemeanors of players bought, sold. And we'll come on to that in the future. It happened in the 90s with a certain manager who basically got sacked for it. But anyway, we'll talk very quickly about the season. On the pitch this season, Arsenal, again, nothing great to write home about. Played 42, won 13, drew 15, lost 14, goals for 82, goals against 86, -4 goal difference. So it's not great, is it? Ended on 41 points and finished one place higher than the previous season in 10th. They did reach another FA Cup semi-final. So this is starting to show the history of Arsenal and FA Cups. And I have done a stream about part 1 of the FA Cup with Arsenal. I will do part 2 where it will come right up to the modern era, up to when Arteta won it. But unfortunately, they lost that semi-final 1-0 to Blackburn Rovers, and that was that. So there you go, controversy at the Arsenal, and I hope you enjoyed it. I haven't done any history stuff for a while, so I do apologise. I've been busy doing other stuff, whatever, but I will do some more stuff. If you're enjoying it, tell me you're enjoying it, and tell me what you want to hear about Arsenal, and we can go from there. And Anthony Smith, yes, Jez lad, top fella, man, top fella. Spursy, Mikel Arteta, love Arsenal, hate the Kroenke, I hate United, and the CFC Spurs are just so fucking annoying. Yes, they are. Noisy neighbours, as I like to call them. Noisy neighbours. Alex Arsenal, top fella, go support this guy's channel. Alex Arsenal, lovely guy, speaks the facts, and good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Morning, Jez. Hope you're well. I hope you're doing well down in New Zealand, my friend. I hope it's getting warmer now. I'm led to believe it's starting to warm up a little bit. Anthony Smith, Jez, who's your all-time favourite Arsenal player? Dennis Bergkamp. No question. Greatest player I've ever seen play for Arsenal. Awesome, awesome, awesome. No, Jez, mate, do you think the officiating is bad because Mike Riley is the head of refs? And even VAR, it is still dog breath. Mate, I don't think so. Look, I used to be a football referee, not at professional level. I was, I got to quite a decent standard, but I wasn't like the level of these guys. It's very, very difficult. You have that to make a decision. VAR, I think, personally, if you want to ask my personal opinion, I don't like it. I think it spoilt the game, but it is what it is. We got to live with it. But refereeing's a very, very tough thing. I can tell you how tough it is when you're doing it on a Saturday afternoon. When I first started out in the late early 90s, and you've got a substitute who hasn't even got a flag and they're waving a t-shirt. That's hard because they don't want to be a bloody linesman. But there we go. Sounds like both, Paul says, sounds like both were a bit like Robert Maxwell. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, very dodgy guys there, I think. And I think they profited major out of Arsenal Football Club. Diego says, probably not, but big players, owners, I expect dug in. Yep. Agree. And it's been Jez, who's your... Oh, I've done that one. Sorry. Anyway, just quickly... and he says, still not forgiving you for winning the league at Anfield in 89. Was only 7 years old. Broke my heart that night, mate. Sorry. I'm sorry. I apologise. I'm sorry. I was there. I'm sorry. No, it says, me, Cherry Henry, man. Yeah, fair play. Yeah. I can't disagree with you. I could name a few, but yeah, I mean, I could go back and name one from the 70s, 80s, 90s. But yeah, I mean, Dennis Bergkamp, man, he was just something else. Yeah, Anthony, what a play. Yeah, Dennis Bergkamp. Wow. Awesome. Cyborg Ninja, la creme de la creme. Yes, all day. He was something else. Annie Smith says, what a player Bergkamp was. Them goals against Newcastle and Leicester. Wow. What? Yeah, man. Wow. They were, weren't they? That one, I'll tell you, the one against Newcastle, man. I mean, that was just magical. I remember seeing that. I wasn't there. I wasn't at the game. But I remember watching it on telly. And I'm thinking, what? What? Annie Smith, no need to apologise. That was great. One of the greatest wins I've ever, for us, Anthony, for an Arsenal fan, probably the greatest game I've ever been to at Anfield. That's for sure. But yeah, it is. How long before Southgate gets the punt? David, I don't know, mate. I don't really follow English international football. It doesn't float my boat, be fair. I find it boring, man, to be honest. But from what I've heard or read today, people are asking for his head. So I don't know. And I believe we've got, I believe there's one more game against Germany at Wembley next week. So if I would say to you this, if England lose to Germany at Wembley next week, I think he's on very short time. But then would they sack him just before the World Cup? I don't think so, because I think that would totally unsettle the team setup. I don't know, because they wouldn't be able to bring somebody else in, would they, to watch the England team play before the World Cup? I think I'm correct in getting that right. So I think England are stuck with him through the game next week and the World Cup. That's basically my opinion. Bergkamp goal against Newcastle is my all-time favourite goal. It was unreal. Yeah. Do you remember the one he scored against Southampton as well? Do you remember that one? That was class. That was class. Noah says, Jez, mate, when Thierry Henry first came in at first, people said he struggled. He did. He was, mate, when he first joined that first season, he wasn't great. Seriously, he was not. He was not. It was only until Wenger transformed him into an out-and-out striker. Because when he first came in, he was a right winger. That was the position he played before. And it clearly didn't suit him. But when Wenger saw something else and coached him into being a striker, wow, ping, light bulb moment, bang, thank you. And he went on from there. Seriously. Total class player, man. Bergkamp goal against Spurs was class. Yeah, I mean, he likes scoring against Spurs, doesn't he? Same here, Jez. Hate international footy. Yeah, I just find it boring, man. It just doesn't do it for me. Really doesn't do it for me. James says, even though I'm a Scotland fan, take Graham Potter out of this, who is ideal to replace Southgate. The England job, if he was to leave after the World Cup. Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout. Look, I think I'm going to say this. If Southgate doesn't get England out of that group, he's binned. He's done. He's gone. They've got to progress. And I'm only going on, guys, what I've read, I've seen, heard, because I didn't watch any of it, and I won't watch any of it next week, to be honest. So it is what it is. I have gone right off international games. Such a shame, really. Well, just a shame if you enjoyed it, so you don't watch it. Carl says, Jez the legend, hope all is well, mate. Why am we on this evening? Shiraz, man. Shiraz tonight. Nice to see you, Carl. Top man. Jez Anders Limpar, what a player he was. Yeah, that guy was like bloody grease lightning. He was super quick. Super quick. Anders Limpar, I love that guy. He's a great player. Carl says, Xhaka, twin the lights, people. There we are. Big up Carl Rossi, mate, says Noah. Right, guys, gonna wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Tell me what history stuff you want to see, what you want to hear. I can mix it up, mix it around. I will be doing a part 2 on the FA Cup. I've done part 1, which brought us up to the 30s, and I'll do another one probably in the next few weeks, which takes us up to the modern period of how we got to our record-breaking 14 cups and 21 finals. So hope you enjoyed it. Be dropping stuff next week. Don't know when just yet, but it will be. Doing, I think it is going to be, next Saturday I'll be doing a watch along with Gracie May on the North London derby, possibly, and we'll take it from there. Thanks all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. And there's a lot of people that are subscribed but don't have notifications on, so you don't get the notification when these channels are coming up. So go and do it. Smash the lights up, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Big love. And my new Victoria Concordia Crescent. And have a great weekend, people. Enjoy the football if you're watching international. I won't be, but there you go. Big love. Take care.